You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
It's the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else.
I'm Alan Ray, and I do this for free. It is the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else, and I do this for free. Yep, not a dime paid. I'm Alan Ray, your humble host. Let's get things kicked off right now.
Rescue me, should I go down? rescue me? Should I go wrong if I dig too deep? If I stay too long?
You know, the last few weeks of Tom Petty's life, he grew unusually wistful, according to an article in Rolling Stones magazine. Little from his musical past tugged at him more than the Wildflowers 1994 solo album that contained some of the coolest and best tracks. I didn't like it when it came out. As the years have gone by, not only have I covered songs like what you're listening to right now, You Wreck Me, but a bunch of others too. Absolutely love Wildflowers now. It grew on me over the years. But when Petty first submitted the 25-track Wildflowers to Warner Brothers label, including then-President Lenny Waronker, they all suggested that he trimmed it back to one disc. It was originally a 2-disc set. As Petty told Rolling Stones in an unpublished interview from 2013, Lenny listened to it and said, "It's great, but it's way too long. You need to cut it down." We were like, oh man, we wanted a double album, but Petty acquiesced, relegating through roughly half of the album to his archives. Although a few of the outtakes, California and Hung Up and Overdue, would end up on the soundtrack of 1996 Edward Burns rom-com She's the One. But eventually Petty went back to it. Petty decided the time had come to finally release Wildflowers in its complete 2-disc form in 2012. "We're going to put out the songs from other records as well," he told Rolling Stones excitedly. "We recorded quite a lot of songs and dug them out, and the songs are just so cool." Unfortunately, he'd never lived to see that dream project. October 2017, of course, we know he died. God, coming up on 3 years already. Isn't that something? But his wish is going to be fulfilled with a multi-disc set called Wildflowers and All the Rest, as he had planned it from the start. Wildflowers and All the Rest is going to augment the original album with the songs that were taken off of it. Some in alternate versions from the ones heard on She's the One. And I know he really wanted it to be finished, says Heartbreakers guitarist Mike Campbell, and it felt good to do what he wanted and to follow through on his original idea. So look for that. Look for that. It's going to be awesome. Wildflowers and All the Rest. Man, that's going to be cool. 3 years after Tom Petty's demise, Tom Petty is one of these artists that he, if he were to like walk up on stage to one of these hokey contests you see on television, they'd probably laugh him off. They'd probably go, "What? Who's that guy?" You can't argue with success. He has gone through generation after generation, and there's kids out there, even now, that are probably tuned into his albums. And, I really liked Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' first couple albums when they come out. There was some time periods where he would come out with stuff, and I'd go, yeah, whatever. Over the years, and I don't know if it's just because I think sometimes when you get older, the nostalgia of a song appeals to you more than the song itself. But I find myself, if I'm in the studio just messing around with an acoustic guitar, doing whatever, I find myself playing more and more Tom Petty stuff. I've covered 4 or 5 of his songs in different bands. Absolutely, now I consider myself somewhat of a fan, especially when his collaboration with the Traveling Wilburys. Kids, you're not going to get a collection of artists that talented in one place at one time. And most of them have passed on. We're never going to have a Traveling Wilburys again. It's sad to think about. But Tom Petty, Wildflowers and All the Rest. I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to hearing that. It's probably going to get hit up on my Spotify, and I'm just going to make sure that gets played beginning to end several times over. I'm Alan Ray. This is I Do This for Free. Welcome to my show. So much to talk about today. I'm sitting here in the cornfields of southeastern Michigan. It is a chilly day. Wow. I got up, did my usual Friday morning walk. I've been running a lot, getting ready for another half marathon. My daughter's wedding is coming up in 2 weeks. Everything is just like converging into this big, exciting party. But yesterday I pushed really hard on a 6-mile run, and the backs of my legs are feeling it today. The 2-mile walk was like, oh, wow, my body just revolted the entire time. Ava, the Wonder Dog, of course, by my side, walking up and down the road. There's been horses out, and she likes the smell that horses leave behind, apparently, because her nose was on the ground sniffing each and every track all the way down to the 1-mile mark and back to the house. And that's how the day's going. But yeah, 48 degrees out there. The wind is really sharp. It feels like the end of October out there more than it feels like September. It's going to be interesting to see what this winter holds for us. You know, with the fires out in California and Washington State pumping all of that smoke and soot into the air, you know, it's got to be affecting the weather. I mean, it really does. I mean, you can see the haze as the sun sets. I mean, it's just really strange out. And I'm just wondering, I haven't seen any facts on it, and I'll keep an eye out. I'll study it. I'm thinking that this is going to be a very interesting winter. And that's okay. My plans are to keep working out, to keep running, even in the snow. Yes, I have gear. I vowed when I first started running that I would never be one of those idiots that I see running in the snow. Running in the snow is like one of the funnest things in the world to do. It's a blast. In fact, in the middle, you know, when the snow is coming down and you're out there, there's this quietness, this calmness. And when you're running through it, it's a great thing. And I ran across an article, drugs.com. A few minutes of moderate to high intensity aerobic activity like running or biking can boost a young adult's memory and concentration for up to 2 hours, a new research review shows. That's the takeaway from 13 studies published between 2009 and 2019. All these studies looked at the short-term impact of bicycling, walking, and or running on the mental health of 18 to 35-year-olds. Now, yours truly has far surpassed the 35-year-old mark. 20 years past it. I'm a 35-year-old with 20 years of experience in being 35. That's what I am. Anyways, Dr. Peter Blomstrand, who led the research review, says that we found that 2 minutes to 1 hour of aerobic exercise at moderate to high intensity improves the learning ability and storage and memory for up to 2 hours in young adults. Now, I can confirm that. I read this, and I'm thinking back to when I first went to college, back in the 80s, back before everybody had a computer in their room, back before smartphones. And really, honestly, I fudged my way through high school. I'm not even going to lie to you. I juked my way through high school and ended up with pretty good grades. When I went to college, I had no idea how to study. No idea. And I was floundering. But thank God my roommate, he taught me a technique that he used to study. And part of it was, you know, before you sit down and do your homework at night, go out for a brisk walk, work out, go lift weights. We had a pool, go swimming, go running, whatever. And then come back and do your homework and then, you know, get yourself ready for bed. It worked. Little did we know back then that the man was a genius. My roommate was a genius. He knew back then what these people are saying now, that 2 hours after you get done with a workout like that, and the workouts plus a 5-minute recovery period were linked to an improved ability to plan and solve problems, better concentration, and stronger verbal skills. The gains lasted anywhere from 30 to 120 minutes. Now, I wonder if that holds true in the least bit for a 55-year-old. I mean, they're talking about 18 to 35-year-olds here. So if you're in college, if you're studying to do something, even if you're wanting to get that little boost, if you're a gamer, you want to get that little boost, go for a walk, go for a run, go for a bike. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. That's your fitness tip for the day. And like I said, I have to believe, I really do have to believe, that it does hold true for just about anybody, because a lot of times when I come back from a run, which that's what I do, or even kayaking, biking, whatever. When I come back, I feel revived. My mind is super focused. I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I just went for a really brisk walk. Like I said, the backs of my legs are not concentrating today. Hopefully they ease up by tomorrow, because I'm planning on a 10 to 11 mile run in a trail tomorrow, which I'm going to be doing a half marathon on the same trail. And I want to get out there and see what it's all about, see what the hills are like, see what the trails are like. You may never hear from me again. But I don't want to stick on the exercise thing too long. People get kind of squeamish and irritated when you stay on exercise too long, because they're thinking to themselves, good, I got to get off this couch. You either do or you don't. And it's just one of those things. Even if you get out there and walk, even if you're incapacitated, if you can just get outside and have somebody help you, or if you have one of these hover rounds, get out there and get in the fresh air. That's got to account for something. Let's look at some history. We're going to cover it all today. Exercise, history, technology. Oh, we got some cool tech stuff we're going to talk about. Scary, but cool. In Bangkok, divers found what they believe is the wreck of a U.S. Navy submarine lost 77 years ago in Southeast Asia, providing a coda to a stirring but little-known tale from World War II. This is according to the New York Post. The divers, one of them, if you remember these kids that got trapped down in the kids and a soccer coach, they got trapped down in a cave in northern Thailand a couple years ago, and the divers had to go down there and bring them out one at a time. One of the divers who discovered this submarine is one of the divers that helped rescue those kids. How cool is that? The divers sent photos and other evidence from 6 dives they made from October 2019 to March this year to the United States Naval History and Heritage Command for verification that they have found the USS Grenadier, one of 52 American submarines lost during World War II. The 1,475-ton, 307-foot-long Grenadier was scuttled by its crew after bombs from a Japanese plane almost sent them to a watery grave. All 76 of its personnel survived the bombing and sinking, but their agony to follow would be prolonged. After being taken prisoner, they were tortured, beaten, and nearly starved by their Japanese captors for more than 2 years, and 4 did not survive the ordeal. According to these people, the wreck lies 82 meters or 270 feet of water somewhere in the Straits of Malacca, about 92 miles south of Phuket, Thailand, and it was discovered by Singapore-based Jean-Luc Rivoire. Jean-Luc Rivoire, huh? Benoit Labouré of France. I like names like that. Yeah, when you say a French name, you got to say it like like you're in France. And Australian Lance Horowitz and Belgian Ben Ramitz, who live in Phuket, Thailand. So, yeah. Apparently, this ship was bombed. They had to scuttle it because there was some sensitive information on it. All of the people on it got off. I mean, they went to the bottom. They fixed what they could. They came up and surfaced. And when they surfaced, there were ships coming that way to basically they were just merchant ships, but they were armed. And these people were all taken to a port in Japan where they were put in, basically kind of tortured for information, and then taken to camps. 4 of the people did not survive. They died for lack of medical attention. So, yes, this was basically, there's a nice picture in this article of the USS Grenadier, big submarine. And, they tried to escape. They tried to do what they could. They were taken captive. But that's a little World War II history that we now know exactly where it is. History lesson for the day. It's kind of cool. But yes, they did scuttle it. They all survived it, but they were all taken prisoner of war. So they didn't actually come out on top as far as World War II goes. All right. Do I want to get into this already? I don't know if I want to get into this. Now, it's 20 minutes. When we come back from our break, we're going to talk more technology, pretty much the whole second half. What I want to talk right now is worms. Drunk worms, more specifically. Drunk worms that are being studied for vibrations. This is very, very interesting. How a drunk vibrating worm landed Australia a Global Science Prize from news.com, Australian version. Drunk vibrating worms. Did it really land Australia a Global Science Prize? It did. And it may also radically change scientists' understanding of how the brain functions and how to interact with it. Harvard University has been running its global Ig Nobel Awards, basically what it is, for almost 3 decades. The entrants are told to first make people laugh and then make them think. So basically it's like really bizarre practices that may lead to something. Well, this is exactly what this guy did. Swinburne University of Technology researcher Dr. Ivan Maximov's out-of-the-box but in-the-shed approach has earned him one of the 10 Ig Nobel Awards to be presented this year. Dr. Maximov worked alongside Andrew Petoskey from the Department of Mathematics in Swinburne. As part of the study, the pair tested 4 common species of earthworms in a bid to demonstrate that vertical vibrations of living worms lying horizontally on a flat surface results in the onset of subharmonic Faraday-like body waves. They said this is possible because the earthworms have a hydrostatic skeleton with a flexible skin and a liquid-filled body cavity. The ability to excite nonlinear subharmonic body waves in a living organism could be used to probe and potentially to control important biophysical processes, such as the propagation of nerve impulses, thereby opening up avenues for addressing biological questions of fundamental impact, the research paper said. Their work was inspired by a Danish scientist's theory that the brain not only functions using nerve-based electrical impulses, but also acoustomechanical or sound wave signals. How about that? So what he's saying there is according to this theory that your brain doesn't just act on the electrical impulses going through your neurons. It also acts on mechanical or sound wave signals. Now, the vibrating worm experiment in the backyard shed has also helped highlight new ways in how the brain functions can be explored. I was very fortunate to join the Center for Nanoscale Biophotonics because I was inspired and encouraged to put forward wild ideas and conducted pioneering research. Earthworms were used because they're cheap, they don't require ethics approval, and their axons are somewhat similar to mammalian nerve fibers. Plus, one can easily anesthetize the worms using vodka. Dr. Maximov started his work for the Center of Nanoscale Biophotonics in McGuire University, where the idea to use earthworms was suggested. So basically what he's doing is using these earthworms to see what acoustic waves do to react to them. Now, how will that translate to humans? Basically what they're saying in a nutshell is the human brain cavity is a lot like what's inside of an earthworm. There's fluids. The brain is more of a gelatin type substance almost. And let's face it, I mean, acoustic waves, things, I mean, they've always known, I guess, that sound affects humans. Different frequencies can do different things, bring out different feelings. Overexposure to extreme low-end frequencies can lead to depression, illnesses, stomach problems, all kinds of things. High-end frequencies can give you piercing headaches. We all know that. Supersonic waves can damage your brain. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of acoustic type treatments they're going to come up with and what they can find to basically offset biological dysfunctions in the brain. Who knows? That is something to keep your eye on. However, using drunk worms, well, I don't know. Not so much. That's kind of weird. All right, man, we're already closing in on the bottom half of the hour. Where does this hour go? Yeah, every time I get behind the mic, every time I start doing a show, I look down and it's like, holy cow, we're almost done. But anyway, just a side note before we go to the break. To all the people who are on the south end of the United States, ducking and covering all the rain and everything, be careful out there. Man, it looks horrible. I mean, we had a lot of weird stuff going on. We got fires out on the West Coast. We've got too much water on the south, on the coastal regions in the Gulf and in Florida and places like that. Everything's kind of getting strange. You know, we go through these, this is nothing new. We go through these cycles every once in a while. And just as an additive, I have a diary that I've gone through, excerpts from it, from just before World War II. We were still in an isolationist view. It was the 30s, and most of America was isolationist. Like, we don't want to get involved in another conflict over in Europe. They're just going to have to deal with it themselves. And the diary excerpts not only reflected that, but also reflected the fact that the Ohio Valley at the time was going through massive floods. This relative goes over a couple of different people she knew who lost houses, who had to escape, who had to get out, who slowly lost everything they had because the waves just kept creeping up. And the rain, you know, she's mentioned the fact that the rain just isn't stopping. Weather is nothing new. There's been a lot of different patterns go through. I mean, you think of the Dust Bowl, you know, how dry and nasty, and we didn't really understand farming the way we do now. And because people would farm and then just pull all the crops up, we had nothing but exposed dirt, and exposed dirt led to a lot of problems. Almost destroyed the breadbasket of the United States before it got started. So we realized things. But I got a feeling this is going to be another strange year as far as weather goes. I know, every year they come out saying, well, this is the hottest year on record. It's not been the hottest year on record here. In fact, it's far from the hottest record in Michigan. It just seems like we just got over a cool period. It warmed up a little bit, and we're right back into a cool period. So it's going to be strange. Who knows? Hopefully we're going to get another bit of Indian summer where it goes from now until the end of October. Hopefully December. I don't care. I like warm weather. Not too warm, but I like warm weather. We've reached the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a little bit of a break. When we come back, we got all this technology to talk about. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be scary. And we're going to talk about death rays. I'll be back.
Listen now and don't forget, if you go for that solid jive, you can always keep the dream alive. Palin with Al.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
A 120,000-year-old footprint has been found in a Saudi Arabian desert. You know, Saudi Arabia wasn't always a massive desert. It used to be a lush greenland. Around 120,000 years ago, what is now northern Saudi Arabia, a small band of Homo sapiens stopped to drink and forage at a shallow lake that was also frequented by camels, buffalo, and elephants, bigger than any species seen today. The people may have hunted the large mammals, but they did not stay long, using the watering hole as a waypoint on a long journey. The detailed scene was reconstructed by researchers in a new study published in Science Advanced on Wednesday. This is from the French press. Following the discovery of ancient human and animal footprints in the Nafud Desert that shed new light on the routes our ancient ancestors took as they spread out of Africa. Isn't that something? 120,000-year-old footprint. That shows you we've been around for a while, Liz. I guess that's what's going on. You know, you look 120,000 years in the past, what we were, you know, walking around hunting big mammals so we could survive. And then you look to the future. And it seems like the future is going to be cyborg. A Kaspersky study finds that support for human augmentation is growing. And this is according to Reuters. Nearly 2/3 of people in leading Western European countries would consider augmenting the human body with technology to improve their lives, mostly to improve health, according to research commissioned by Kaspersky. As humanity journeys further into a technological revolution that its leaders say will change every aspect of our lives, opportunities abound to transform the way our bodies operate, from guarding against cancer to turbocharging the brain. The Opinium research survey of 14,500 people in 16 countries, including Britain, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, showed that 63% of people would consider augmenting their bodies to improve them, though the results varied across Europe. I guess, to me, that would matter what kind of augmentation you're talking about. Yeah, I kind of like my body the way it is. I mean, if you could maybe put a little probe in there that, you know, helps my memory out a little bit, that would be great. But we'll see. But, you know, augmentation enthusiasts are already testing the limits of what's possible, but we need commonly agreed standards to ensure augmentation reaches its full potential while minimizing the risks, Preuss said. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk's neuroscience startup Neuralink last month unveiled a pig named Gertrude that has had a coin-sized computer chip in its brain for 2 months, showing off an early step towards the goal of curing human diseases with the same type of implant. Now, see, I bring you this. I bring you this because we exist in an era where technology is a double-edged sword. It's so cool to have the gadgets we have today. My kids, for my birthday, my daughter, my 2 sons, and my future son-in-law, because it was his idea, we were sitting around out back talking about exercise and running and stuff. They got me one of these smart watches. It's what is this thing? It's an Active 2 Samsung. One of the neatest gadgets I think I've ever seen. I downloaded a bunch of music to it. It's got a really cool running app. I took off running. You can bring up Spotify. There's all kinds of cool tracking apps you can do. I mean, I'm doing that trail race, and I plan on using one of the apps on there to make sure I don't end up, in the next county, and stick to the trail. There's so much cool technology out there. With that cool technology comes a price, a very large price. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at techcentral.com. Facebook is again being sued for allegedly spying on Instagram users, this time through the unauthorized use of their mobile phone cameras. The lawsuit springs from media reports in July that the photo-sharing app appeared to be accessing iPhone cameras even when they weren't actively being used. That is called an invasion of privacy. Now, Facebook denied the reports and blamed a bug. Oh, yeah, there was a bug, sorry. Which it said it was correcting for triggering what it described as false notifications that Instagram was accessing iPhone cameras. In the complaint filed on Thursday in federal court in San Francisco, New Jersey, Instagram user Brittany Conditi contends that the app's use of the camera is intentional and done for the purpose of collecting lucrative and valuable data on its users that would otherwise not have access to. By obtaining extremely private and intimate personal data on their users, including in the privacy of their own homes, Instagram and Facebook are able to collect valuable insights and market research, according to the complaint. Facebook has declined to comment. Now, this is not, of course, the first time Facebook has been accused of basically using their platform to spy on people, using their platform to glean information. Now, the older I get, the more I go along, the less I like Facebook. I used to be addicted to Facebook. I used to be on Facebook all the time. Now, it kind of creeps me out. In fact, there's stretches of times that I will turn Facebook off, especially. Now, this is the bad thing, and I don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm gonna recruit one of the nerds that I hang out with. I cannot get Facebook off of my cell phone. You can deactivate it. You can turn it off. You can shut it down. You can't delete it. And what I want to know is why not? Facebook is a very intrusive. It's almost like a malware. Once you put it on your phone, it just wraps its greasy little palms around all of your apps and starts gleaning all kinds of information. I found this out like 2 phones ago. In a lower, the phone I got now is pretty good. I'm due for a new one pretty soon, but a couple of phones ago, it didn't have the memory, it didn't have the RAM, it didn't have the storage. And I would find out that the absolute biggest drain on the battery, even when I wasn't using it, on the battery, on memory, and on store, everything was Facebook. I turned it off, and that phone would go forever on a charge. I don't trust Facebook. In fact, probably thinking about shutting it down on the phone again. I'm very leery about getting on it, even on my computer, because it's just so intrusive. You need to be careful. And they keep coming up with things. Instagram, really? Facebook's going on, turning your camera on Instagram? What are they seeing? What can they blackmail you with? And it's not, I mean, you know, for all intents and purposes, you know, they might have the best interest in mind. You know, I'm sure they're doing it to make money and selling this information to somebody for an ungodly amount of money. But there's always the hackers. And you have to look at information that you put out on the web in the guise of, if somebody hacked this, what would happen to me? Now, I have a ton of stuff out on the web, okay? I've been in bands. I'm all over YouTube. I do these podcasts. I'm all over the computer with that. You know, social media, everything. There's a ton of stuff about me online. But there's also things that I will not put online. There's also things that I don't think anybody needs to know except my very closest friends. There's parts of me that I do not wish to be made public. Not that they're illegal, not that they would embarrass me. It's just nobody's business but mine. And I ran across another article. This is from Fast Company. It kind of gives you the lowdown of people like me, and I'm not alone in what I'm saying. It talks about contact tracing. Remember contact tracing? The big Google back in the summer when everything was really breaking out, the big Google download, there was like a couple different companies. They downloaded it to your phone without your permission. If you accepted the download at all, it just put this app on your phone for contact tracing. Now you can turn it on, you can turn it off. This article points out some good stuff. And I should just post this after the show. I think I will post this on my social media, especially on my Twitter page. Contact tracing via smartphones has reached a crucial moment. In early September, Apple and Google announced the release of an app-free COVID-19 tracing program that will alert users when they come into contact with someone infected with the virus. Until now, state public health authorities have released their own contact tracing apps using Apple and Google's privacy-friendly exposure notification technology. Now, the bespoke apps are no longer needed, and this month, millions of iPhones and Androids around the country will ask their owners whether they want to enable exposure notifications. What will Americans answer? Probably a resounding no. Despite the huge potential health benefits of smartphone contact tracing, especially if at least 60% of the population participates, many Americans will opt out of the exposure notifications because Apple, Google, and the tech industry as a whole have lost our trust. Bingo! You win! Whoever wrote this has won. The only way to rebuild that trust is with new laws. Now, this is something to think about going forward. It says, when did we become so suspicious of the tech industry? Well, I just went over one of them. And if you remember, Facebook's Cambridge Analytica scandal marked a turning point for the sector's general image. But Apple and Google have done little to improve their own standings. Google has faced countless privacy controversies over the year, from scanning emails to tracking children through education products to a whole litany of shady dealings within their digital advertising empire. While Apple has long made lofty claims about privacy and has built many privacy and security protections into the iPhone, Apple has still permitted and profited from letting some of the biggest privacy offenders run rampant on the App Store, which basically negates and offsets everything Apple tries to do to keep your privacy private. The broader sector faces similar levels of public distrust. According to the 2020 Edelman Trust Barometer, trust in tech sunk to new lows this year, and it's experienced a sharper drop than any other industry. Nevertheless, exposure notifications are an impressively privacy-friendly and trustworthy technology, which this person goes on to say that, it uses Bluetooth to approximate distances, which really is not that great of a distance approximator. It's, if you're going to approximate distance between two people, GPS is much better, but they don't want to use GPS. Despite all the precautions that they use, the weak adoption of existing American contact tracing apps, many of which do not yet use exposure notifications, are a sign of trouble to come. Open Up Care 19, which is North Dakota's official COVID-19 tracking app, and you will see only a few dozen North Dakotans using this tracing app at any given time. Rhode Island's Crush COVID RI app is faring only a little better with around 82,000 downloads, which is 8% of the population. Utah's Happy Together app, oh, that sounds so bad, which has so far cost of the state over $4 million. Okay, that app has cost the state $4 million, has been downloaded by just 2% of people from Utah. If usual app adoption trends hold, only a fraction of the people who downloaded these apps will ever open them, not to mention keep them running in the background. People don't trust the technology. The trust is not there. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. How many times? I mean, this is the whole Titanic syndrome. Oh, the Titanic's unsinkable. Oh, you can't hack this app. You can't hack this phone. Our security is top notch. Yeah, right. Go on the dark web for a while. You'll find out how top notch your security is. Apple and Google, with their unparalleled reach and technical expertise, had a chance to build something far more effective, but they were hamstrung in their engineering efforts by a shadow of public distrust. Their greatest hindrance was being limited to using only privacy-friendly Bluetooth signals. Bluetooth is not designed to measure the distance between two people. We just went over that. We may never be able to fully trust tech companies, this author goes on to say, or for that matter, any company to have our best interests at heart. But the right federal privacy regulation could go a long way to ease our concerns. Now, I'm going to think about this. I'm not going to give you my opinion on it, but I want you to think about what this person says next. The Senate already has made a weak attempt at this with a recently announced Exposure Notification Privacy Act. But the bipartisan bill is far too specific. Now, we're borderlining politics here, but this is bipartisan, so let's just hear me out. But the bipartisan bill is far too specific to the case of contract tracing to be meaningful and change how Americans see tech companies. Even laws such as California Consumer Protection Act and Europe's General Data Protection Regulation are more focused on giving people's rights over their data than building trust. Trust is inherently about vulnerability, and to make ourselves vulnerable to tech companies, we need to know that they will act in our best interest. To this end, legal scholar Jack Balkin recommends the law treat tech companies as information fiduciaries. A fiduciary is an entity that is legally required to put a client's interest before its own, like a doctor. Doctor has a fiduciary duty for their patients to provide the best possible care. A stockbroker likewise has a fiduciary duty to investors to accurately portray how risky an asset might be. For the American public to trust tech companies with something as sensitive as contact tracing, they will need to have the same kind of legal guarantees that they will not use their unique powers to do us unique harm. Something to think about as we head into the future. And, that's the whole thing. Yeah, maybe this is the way that these laws need to come out. They're right. As technology grows, outside of your car, well, even I'm thinking a lot of people, it's more than your car. When you get into especially cities and places like that where cars aren't really all that, you can't really use them as much. Your smartphone, your computer, your tablet, all the technology you have. Nowadays, watches have more computing power. The one they just bought me, thing's incredible. Has more computing power than the first couple of smartphones I had. It's crazy. We are a technology society. And this person has a good point. This Ben Werner from news.usni.org has a good point. Maybe we should be thinking about the laws the same way we think about legal laws for the lawyers, the doctors, places like that, where they have to think about their people who are using their technology, how they treat their privacy and treating it with kid gloves more than they should be worried about selling the information to the top bidder, or even allowing third-party apps to glean all of this data. Now, On the other end of that, that's going to come with a price. You're going to watch a lot of your favorite apps start charging. I personally feel, especially if an app is charging you, your data should be locked up tight in that app against everything and everybody. We live in very interesting times, my friends. Oh, we got about 10 minutes. I fell down this rabbit hole. And I'm not going to go into why, because if you're listening to the news, you probably already know why. But I came up with some interesting finds this week. You know, I kind of like the whole military weapons thing, and I'm always looking at the new and interesting stuff. And, of course, you know, it was mentioned in the news that they were looking at heat rays to break up some of the riots and the violent protests. And, of course, everybody was losing their mind. But I was thinking, you know, how far have they developed some of this stuff? You would be amazed. You would be amazed. Lockheed Martin doesn't even try to hide it. And I found a news.usni.org article that says the Department of Defense is focusing its directed energy weapons research on technologies ready to field now, placing on the back burner plans to create more complex space-based technologies, the Pentagon's head of research said on Wednesday, exploring the usefulness of directed energy. Specifically figuring out how to increase the wattage of these weapons is the Pentagon's focus now, Michael Griffin, the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, said during a keynote address at 2019. Defense News Conference is where he said this. In practical terms, this means the Pentagon wants technologies ready to deploy in near term and is shelving plans to develop systems that are years away from initial testing. We're looking at high-powered microwaves. We're deferring work on neutral particle beams indefinitely. It's just not near enough terms. They already have weapons deployed, guarding bases, 3 different types that are, it's kind of bizarre to look at. It's kind of cool to look at. One of them uses almost like an electromagnetic pulse to bring down drones. Swarm drones attacks. One of them happened to a Russian base. Syrian troops launched a swarm of drones against a Russian base. They really had no defense against it. Drones are small, maneuverable. It's kind of hard to get them in. This weapon that we have, basically right now, the power source is about the size of a shipping crate. In fact, looks like what they're using to store the power in, with a little bitty thing on top that actually directs the beam. And it'll just basically decommission these things with like an almost electromagnetic pulse. It burns up all of their circuits, overloads them, and brings them down. They have another one. It's almost like a laser, an invisible laser that brings down missiles. The Navy has this. It plans to install this high-energy laser and integrated optical dazzler with surveillance. It's called Helios weapon aboard a West Coast-based Arleigh Burke-class Flight 2A destroyer in 2021. Next year. They're going to have a high-energy laser. And I've seen test, shots on this thing. Bringing down missiles, bringing down drones. It's crazy. We have some of the wildest weapons. Now, right now, of course, they're not efficient. They're on boxcars. They're in ships. They're huge. But just like anything else, just remember, in the 60s, not too long ago, a computer with the computing power of what I'm holding in my hand right now, my Samsung Galaxy phone, a computer of this magnitude would take up almost an entire room. Huge room. It would take forever to get the data that I could click on in an instant and bring up. Now, everybody carries this technology around. Using that kind of logic leads me to believe that what they're powering now, and this is what they're spending the money on. I mean, instead of going through something that's years and years out, they're spending $380 million on trying to streamline the power aspect of these rays, these lasers, these microwave heat, high radio frequencies that they're using. There's 3 or 4 different kinds. What they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out ways to streamline the power-up technology. Because right now, it takes a lot of power to get these things to shoot their beams, shoot their lasers, whatever. And this article goes on to say, the Pentagon's looking for a boost in direct energy capabilities. Current direct energy technology operates in the realm of 10 kilowatts. But to be useful, these weapons need to run in at least hundreds of kilowatts realm. So basically, they're going to have to figure out a way to bring a lot more power to them in smaller packages. It's going to be interesting. 10, 20 years to look back now to see what kind of weapons they have, to see what they've done. That's what the Navy, that's what the Army, that's what these people are working on right now. All right. Gosh, already back up to the top of the hour. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'm having a blast doing what I'm doing. I've got 3 different shows going now. Next Friday night will be the Hardcore Patriot. Sunday, this coming Sunday, next Sunday, I try to do this every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. Circumspice, the right side of Michigan. That is gaining more and more followers. Just having a blast. If you're on KLRNRadio.net, you're in the right place. We got all of this cool stuff. Politics free Friday nights going on right now. These Friday nights, they're every other Friday night. We have Chick Chat. We have In the Crease. We have I Do This for Free, which yours truly is blabbing at you right now. And after this, we have Juxtaposition, which is really becoming one of the coolest planned shows we've got on KLRN that's non-political, because they talk about the neatest stuff, spooky and creepy and all that. You got to love it. What's not to love? So keep it right here on KLRNRadio.net, America's Podcast Network. Don't go anywhere. I will be joining you again, Lord willing, on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, live. Now, the Sunday night ones, I go live. I do it. I have a chat room going, the whole shot. And I'm planning on an eventful weekend. We'll see what happens. I'm still flipping a coin whether I'm going hunting or fishing. We're going to see what kind of weather we have out there, because cold weather in a kayak can get kind of chilly. Plus, it's hunting season, so I might be out there. We'll let you know Sunday night what we decided. God bless you. God bless America. Stay tuned for Juxtaposition. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk again soon.
Let's make sure